Dave Floss here from Mentally Unbalanced and Prometheus Falling Toys. I wanted to put together a short video, at least short for me anyway. And instead of doing a whole big production, I'm really just doing this on my computer. And I want to talk about the Haslab Unicron, right? Because there's a lot of talk going on around this particular figure that's started to come out in some places of the world. It's hopefully coming out in the U.S., shipping in March. We've started to see some pictures, and there's a lot of hoo-ha going on around, did we get duped? Is it worth the money? A lot of different things. So I thought I'd take a couple minutes in a video to break it down. So there's a few different categories here, or items. It's not just one thing. It's a few, so I'm going to kind of take them in no particular order. The first one is something that's called CHUG, right? And in the Transformers and other collectible community, CHUG says you've got this beautiful character. I'll give you an example here. You've got this nice character of Trailbreaker here, and CHUG would be, well, is there extra bits that are just there? Now, you could technically say this is CHUG hanging on the back, but it's not, too off the aesthetic of what the character looked like. CHUG would be, RC Transformer. A couple of those versions are a really good example where there's just a lot of extra parts going on because that's what's needed for the alt mode, right? So in the Unicron, Haslab Unicron, the big concern is CHUG. There seems to be a lot of stuff going on the back and a lot of stuff going on the legs. I've even seen a picture that suggests if you carefully remove the CHUG on the back and on the legs, you can pretty much create the entire shell of Unicron, right? Without actually using the robot mode at all. So if this is true, and I don't have Haslab Unicron yet, so if this is true, it is a bit disappointing because it ultimately means that in order to get a really cool looking robot mode and a planet mode, they had to add a ton of extra pieces that basically create this shell around the robot, and as opposed to incorporating the robot itself. Now on the flip side, if it's removable, I'm not sure how concerned I am. It really depends on which mode I intend to display it in. Right now I'm kind of leaning toward planet, but you never know. Once I see it in robot mode, that might change my mind. I do know I probably won't be transforming him very often because it seems complex. So right there, from a CHUG perspective, yes, it absolutely has CHUG, and he's almost always immediately compared to Studio Cell's Unicron, right? And I'm fortunate because I have Studio Cell Unicron. So I'm not here to review the Studio Cell Unicron. I wanted to kind of offer it as a glimpse of, when you look at the complete figure, no CHUG, nothing on the back, nothing on the legs. It's obvious. It's clearly a gorgeous figure. I love this figure, right? Doesn't mean I'm upset about a Haslab. No, I don't. I think this one is very, very detailed, movie accurate, and an absolute royal pain to transform. Haslab, I'm reserving overall judgment, but I don't think it's automatically fair to compare the two. And ultimately, that comes down to my next point, which is size, how big it is. So this is kind of both a good and bad thing. So I have, as I said, it's always compared to Studio Cell. Studio Cell, I'll try to get it on camera here if I can get him to stand up. From the ground to the top of the head, he's about 18 to 19 inches. It depends on whether you want to include the horns. So you're looking at about 18 or 19 inches for this already pretty massive and beautiful figure. To put that in perspective, Haslab is going to be, 27 inches tall. So if I'll actually turn that here. And I'm not going to give you the whole figure. I'm just going to give you an idea of how big this guy is, right? And then you can see here he's floating right around that 17, 18 mark. And 27, well, it goes off my screen right there. So right now at the top of the screen, I'm at about 25, and you're talking about another couple inches there. So it's going to be an immense figure. And if you've seen any of the unboxing pictures with people holding it, it's an immense figure. So there's the trade-off, is that it is meant to be an epically large figure. The trade-off, or the question is, where are you going to put it, right? I'm having that same question right now. I hadn't hard enough time finding space for studio cell, but the Haslab is going to be a bit of a challenge. But again, we knew that going in, right? And that kind of brings me to my next point, which is, we'll just call it the price, right? So when you think about the price, right now, secondary market on this is anywhere from, and I'm going to go US dollars, $750, right, to a couple $1,000s, right? And that's kind of the difference between some of your toy resellers being on the lower end, the more reasonable end, and then but limited stock, and then people that bought one and are just trying to make bank on eBay, right? Trying to just scalp as much money as they possibly can. So I have a unique perspective on this because I'm a collector, right? But I'm also a toy reseller, right? And I have my resale license, and I sell new and used toys. So I kind of have, two heads about it, right? What I think of as a collector and what I think of as a toy reseller. So I'll start as a toy reseller. I think you shouldn't be surprised that it's going for at least $700, $800 on any toy reseller out there. And ultimately that's because we didn't get any wholesale purchase on this. We bought it the same as anybody else. So it didn't matter whether I was a wholesaler, a retailer, or a collector. The Haslab price was the Haslab price. So right there, we're out of pocket the full value of the toy, as well as shipping. Now, once I get the product in hand, I'm keeping mine, but if for the sake of argument I wanted to sell mine through my store, at that point I've got to take into consideration a reasonable amount of markup, especially if I'm going to have to pay for shipping or someone has to pay for shipping. And there's got to be a little profit involved, right? I mean, I spent 18 months, I fronted the money. I think that's legitimate, right? I'm not going to fault anybody for doing that. Now, flip side to kind of the collector side of things, shocker, people are asking for a ton of money online for this thing, a ton of money on eBay. Even those that don't even have it yet are asking for a ton of money. So here, you're going to hear a lot of people say, well, boo-hoo, you got to pay a lot of money. Well, you should have bought it when it came out. It might not have been an option, right? You might have missed it. I mean, there's any number of reasons. I think my perspective is this. If you can find it for a reasonable value from a toy reseller, especially, I'll say, a decently known one, good reputation, then that's what you're going to pay. That's a fair price for something that is not available at the original offer price to anyone anymore, right? Unless you are the biggest diehard, Unicron is your Patronus, I can't see dropping that kind of money. Not at this point. I mean, so few have even been released in the wild. It's just one of those things where, kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. Now, the last consideration you have to think about that is Hasbro's probably not releasing this again, right? This is not like, well, maybe I'll get lucky and they'll do a reskin or a different variation. I mean, we have 19 different versions of Soundwave out there, but I don't think we're going to get another version of the Haslab Unicron. And if we do, it's going to be a long, long time to get it. And who knows what that price may be. So right there, I think from a price perspective, you got to just consider very long and hard, because if you pay, this full kind of eBay prices, that's not a return on investment. You want it. You want it. You got the fundage. You're going to buy it. And I hope you love it and enjoy it, and I hope you find it worth every penny that you spent. But, it's obviously going to go for a pretty big premium. All right, let's move on to some of the other stuff. So here's one of the little ones. In my mind, it's little because it's the miniatures, right? So we do this Haslab thing. I bought in on during the crowdfunding, and then they say if we hit this many backers, we get this, and this many backers, you get that. And one of them were these little figurines, right? These little non-movable. They look like, well, the joke now is they look like a piece of chewing gum, because they show these miniatures, which are, tiny little things of Galvatron, for example, to kind of give a scaled version of a mini Galvatron with this massive Unicron figure. And in a couple of the pictures on the website, they show them with an orange arm cannon, purple, and a little bit of silver. We're not talking fine detail here at all, really. We're talking about pretty basic with a couple color. Now it looks like he's getting shipped just purple, right? And I think Hot Rod is coming in as an orange-red color. So we're not getting the quite what was pictured in some of the earlier photos that was presented. Again, as a collector, I could say, that's disappointing. I could be frustrated, but honestly, I don't care. You know, of all the things and money that was invested, we didn't even know about these minifigs that were going to come with it, you know, when we backed it. So for me, they added it on. It's not exactly what, you know, I was expecting, but I didn't expect it at all in the first place. So am I really disappointed? No, not particularly. I figure when they arrive, if I really want to use them from a display perspective, I could use them as they are or paint them, or most likely they're going to go in one of my boxes of extra parts and never be shown again. Especially if I go planet mode, I can't even imagine putting them on there. You got all of this detail and scale and size. I don't think I'd even want to use those little figurines. So that's one thing people were disappointed in. But again, I think it's kind of a small deal. Now here's one that's not quite a small deal to a lot of people, and that is they changed some of the colors on the figure. Now, here's where I'm of two minds, because I am disappointed that they changed the colors. We've had, you know, we've waited a year and a half, right, to finally start seeing the final production pictures. And I mean final production, meaning what's going out. Because, you know, as a backer, I get these updates and updates and updates. And if you even look at the Haslab website right now, today, at least on February 16th, they still show it with the color scheme that they were talking about 18 months ago. They haven't changed these pictures. And yet we're seeing these photos now where they've made some kind of noticeable color changes. And there's two in particular. Ironically, both have to do with the maw. One is the face, right? And not that it's an exact example, but I'll give you kind of a sense here, right? You have the lower chin here and the teeth, right? It's all one solid color. And it's similar on the Haslab Unicron. Different color scheme. It's more, there's silver and more detail. But again, it was meant to be one solid series of colors. Now they've apparently changed the inner jaw and lower lips to blue. Am I happy about this? No, not particularly. I don't like it. I think it looks better, and I think if you look at the studio cell or you look at the pictures that they still have online, this solid silver color scheme looks so much better. I like movie accurate. I'm not a diehard, has to be absolute movie accurate, but in this case, I am disappointed that they are not going with the solid color scheme. And it's just like a blast of this blue right in the middle of the mouth. It also just doesn't fit. I guess that's what annoys me, is that it stands out for all the wrong reasons as opposed to some of the right ones. And then the other item is the maw when Unicron is in planet mode, right? He's got that big open front maw and all of the pictures showed like the I'm going to call them horns. The claws that come out, they're orange, and then the rim is orange, and the teeth that come out is orange, and the inside, it's all orange, right? Everything's orange. Very movie accurate, right? And now we're seeing pictures where the teeth, the small teeth that kind of crunch and pull the planetoids in, are a different color. They're blue. Again. Now, there's been a number of things going around about why they made the change, but I will say again, when the pictures and everything you've shared up to this point, even today, while you're shipping it, still show it as orange, I'm disappointed. If mine shows up and it's blue, I'm going to be a little disappointed because, again, it's not about the fact that they just the color, right? For me, it's that one of the things I liked about the maw when he's in planet mode is that the orange on orange, you don't really see, or it doesn't stand out, the joints, right? It doesn't look like plastic joints on each of those teeth that snap together. You lose some of that in the solid continuous color scheme, and it looks more, I'm going to just say natural or organic. As soon as you put a very strong contrasting color and you have the mechanics of it where, you know, the teeth are interlocking with the plastic of the base of a different color, that those joints really stand out. And the pictures I've seen, I mean, the teeth, again, kind of like the mouth in robot mode, seems to be standing out for all the wrong reasons, in my opinion. And again, at the end of the day, it's all opinion, right? I will say that I can understand from the folks that paid into this early on that it's expected when you're backing a project like this that there could be the need or necessity for some changes along the way, right? I mean, we were paying for an idea, right? And they presented materials, but it was, you know, I think you'd be naive to think that when they're presenting materials of something that doesn't exist yet, and they're going to try their best to deliver on that there could be subtle changes or things that change. I accept that. What I still have, where I side now with the people that bought into it is, I would have liked to have known that. What is it going to change anything? No, I still paid for it. I'm still getting the figure. But I think as somebody who invested money, and like many others, it would have been nice that we'd had an opportunity as a crowdfunding to know about these things as these decisions were being made. It's disappointing we're finding out about this because it's out in the wild in the rest of the world, and it's not what's being pictured on the website even today. And that's kind of where my rub is that, I got 4 or 5 updates over the last 18 months following the production, following the package. Even the most latest packaging video shows orange maw, right? And solid silver Unicron face. The pictures on the website show all of this. That's where it's kind of hard not to think it's like, ooh, they made a change because for whatever reason, and I honestly don't care what the reason was. I'm assuming they had a good reason. Would have been nice to tell us. Would have been nice to inform us. Would have been nice to tell us why they did it. Like, we went with blue because it's structurally stronger mold than using the same orange, or there was an issue. Whatever it is, just tell us, right? I mean, we're collectors and we tend to be pretty whiny about our collections, but at the same time, we get even more whiny when we feel we're kind of getting shorted on something that we've waited a considerable long time. And that's probably my last comment. A lot of this just has to do with we've waited so long, right? And whether you love this figure, you are indifferent, you think it's stupid, you telling everybody to go get Studio Cell. Well, let me remind everybody of something. First of all, the idea that, oh my goodness, you spent $500 on a toy. Studio Cell, you're looking at $350, $400. Right? Now, maybe you can get a little bit better, but my point is you're not talking about, here's a $200 figure that's very impressive. No, it's a $400 figure by the time you get it home. That's very impressive. And I think Haslab Unicron, again, for backers, people that were able to get in at the beginning, $500 was a very appropriate price for the overall size and scale and quality of the toy, right? And that's the last thing that I don't want to say I'm concerned about, but I'm definitely going to be thoughtful of is now I'm hoping that the quality ultimately lives up to the price. I will inevitably accept some changes that happened along the way, but I really want to make sure that this is a good investment for me from a collector perspective because I want the quality to be there. And as I've noticed is that quality with Hasbro can be very hit or miss, right? There's some in the Transformers line especially. Some Transformers, even the more complex or articulated one, seem really solid quality, and others, joints pop off with the slightest movement. It seems very inconsistent overall. So I'm really hoping that by waiting and having made some changes, even if they're not my favorite, it ultimately was to drive better quality control. Unfortunately, don't know enough yet to really know if that's true. And even if I hear videos online, I'm the kind of person who waits till I get it in hand or know someone close that has something in hand to really give me a complete, hopefully unbiased opinion. So that's my thoughts on the controversy of the Haslab Unicron. Hopefully I'll be able to follow up this video with a very short video that can, prove or disprove everything I've just talked about once I have the product in hand. Until then, no lie, I will be thoroughly enjoying hanging out with my medium-sized Unicron buddy here from Studio Cell. And the last thing I'll ask is if you enjoyed this video or our other videos, please hit subscribe. We do all kinds of different, from quick videos to toy unboxings and even our podcast. So a little bit of something for everybody. And of course, I'm going to invite you, please, to go to our Facebook page. We have two, right? We have the Prometheus Falling Toys, and I'll put links in the description. And that's my toy buy-sell trade that I do. And then we have Mentally Unbalanced, which is our podcast website. And it's a lot of random geek stuff, right? So both are a lot of fun, for those that are into the geeky toy, science fiction, nostalgia, all that stuff. It's a little bit, it's potpourri, It's a potpourri. It's a little bit of everything. So I'm Dave Floss. I appreciate you taking a few minutes or probably more than a few minutes, but taking a little bit of time to listen to my opinions on the Haslab Unicron. The Haslab Unicron coming out in March. Thanks.